Going to our guest here, joining us via video Skype if you're watching on prisonplanet.tv, David Crowley and Danny August Mason, and the website is graystatemovie.com. And I was at Bilderberg, you know, protesting 8, 9, 10 hours a day, bullhorning, shaking hands, and then going back and doing, you know, radio and TV until the wee hours of the morning. So I was pretty exhausted. But the last day before I left, they wanted an interview. I didn't even know what it was for. I was like, Gray State documentary? Okay, sure. They asked some good questions, and I kind of stumbled off. And then I saw the trailer a month ago or so, and I've been meaning to get them on ever since. And we'll be playing some of the trailer without audio because it doesn't translate well on radio. But for people watching on the internet, we'll be playing some of the video in the background while they speak. But, I mean, it looks like a trailer that would be produced by HBO or something. In fact, it looks like a trailer that would be produced for a $20 million budget movie. Wouldn't say B, but wouldn't say wouldn't say Jerry Bruckheimer. But it looks like HBO quality. I mean, it's right up there. And imagine what they could do with funding. And I'm not associated with the movie. I'm not, I don't have stock in it or anything. I just like to see things produced and made. I helped, start Luke Rudowski off and We Are Change, so many other groups. That's how you defeat people is by creating all these other organizations. That's how you defeat the globalists. That's how you defeat tyrants, is creating so many movements and groups or helping get them rolling to where you can't be stopped. You reach critical mass. And I really hope these guys get this film made. Briefly, people want to know about you individually from graystatemovie.com. So in a minute each, David Crowley first, then Danny Mason, tell us about yourselves and the impressive film you're working on, and you're also trying to crowdsource fund now. Charlie Manson's records are finally going to get produced with hundreds of thousands of dollars thanks to crowdsourcing. So if that scumbag can get his stuff produced off the crowdsourcing, I hope you can. So let's give it a shot here today. Tell us about yourselves and then about the film.
Hey, Alex, good to talk to you again. I'm David Crowley. I'm the writer and director of Gray State. And I'm a veteran, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and the interesting thing about this material, once you delve into it, is that everyone has to act within their own capacity to express this information. So Gray State has been my effort to kind of draw the human narrative out of all this terrifying information that we see all around us. And I think that's been my responsibility as a filmmaker to kind of craft a human story out of this. And I think what I want to definitely tell your listeners is that every time you look at some of these things happening, like, why isn't anyone showing this in a film? I mean, that is what I'm doing. That is what Gray State is. Gray State is the Alex Jones film, essentially. But as my role as a soldier having to serve in Iraq and Afghanistan, I definitely can see the consequences of these kind of trends playing out and not being corrected. So Gray State definitely shows that.
Well said. Yeah, my name's Danny. Alex, first off, thanks for having us on the show. I'm an actor, co-creator, and help consult the story for Gray State. I've actually been lecturing on the topic about dealing with FEMA, also Federal Reserve, United Nations, for about 5 years now across the country. And I guess collaborated with David back in 2010 about the information on it. And we both were on the same page about it, and it just kind of spawned from there. And ever since then, it's just been a hell of a ride. So it's definitely, instead of just being just an action film, it's definitely more of a narrative film, character-driven piece. And that's what we're sticking to our guns with on it.
I think that's an important distinction to make, is that it's not a documentary. Where a documentary will pander to a certain crowd who already subscribes to those beliefs, this is a narrative film. It's a literal movie you're going to go to the theater and see. So just imagine the possibilities there. I mean, mainstream media, in effect, has usurped our traditional heritage of storytelling as a means of passing on our culture. As an anti-culture, all we have are movies. So the mainstream media, in that usurpation of that, they've been able to dominate what we see and hear and what we pass on to our children. So imagine if we get a film like Gray State showing in a 1984 sort of format certain consequences of a failure to embrace liberty.
Yeah, I tried to get Rick Linklater to make a 1984 but future dystopic, and he did make Scanner Darkly, which is excellent. But I wanted one that was contemporary to a military takeover. I mean, I just told him about it and talked about it. But this looks about like the quality of something that he would put out. I mean, it looks really, really good. How did you guys? How much money did this just this trailer cost? Because I mean, I can see it with the crowds, the actors. They're all doing a really good job. I mean, this looks like HBO quality here. How did you get this done?
Well, when Danny came to us and he's like, "Hey guys, check out FEMA camps, check out these things," and we're like, "Okay," and then it's like, "Oh wow, this is important, and we should probably pay attention." So of course we go about making a film because that's what we do. But my partner Mitch and I run a production company called Hothead Productions, and we do photography, videography, and filmmaking, of course. And so basically, Gray State, while you say it looks good, that is essentially cheated, just out of pocket from Mitch and I's production company, and it's doing what we do best, making films in an independent fashion. So we went through the entire production process for every scene for a trailer. I mean, we had to do location permits and casting and arranging all these resources. But yeah, it was funded basically on a budget of about $6,000.
I would like to help you guys, get this done, but also because I've actually been around Hollywood and what goes on there. You've got to be careful because 99% of the time, some big fish will come along claiming they're going to help you, and all they'll do is pay you a little money, take control of it, and then never produce it. So if I was you, you're going the right way crowdsourcing. I would not take any big money or big investors. They will kill your film. David Crowley, Danny Mason, GrayStateMovie.com. Let's get more into the plot of the film and how much funding you need to get it done properly to then put it in theaters. You've seen what Obama 2016 has done. I mean, it's reached tens of millions of people, and it's made, I don't know, $20 million, whatever it is now. And the cinematography is great and everything, but the budget of that looks like maybe $1 million bucks. The point is that this is where you're actually able to reach people, and a fictional account of near future paralleling reality, I think, is a great way to go. But tell people where they can go to learn more about it and where they can go to crowdsource it. Explain how you're trying to fund this.
All right, all details about the film are available at GrayStateMovie.com, but our crowdfunding is at Indiegogo.com/GrayStateMovie. And
you've got links at GrayStateMovie.com to that.
Yep.
And you've raised $13,000. You're trying to raise $50,000.
Well, one important thing that we should say is that $50,000 is simply just to get us off the ground. This movie cannot be made via crowdsourcing. I mean, if we want to do it right, if we want to lend it the scale that it needs, I mean, Mitch and I can cheat it this way. And we spent $6,000 on the trailer. You say it looks like $1 million. If we get $1 million, it'll look like $6 million, and so on. But crowdfunding is not how we're going to fund it, but it's how we're going to get it seen by the right people.
Well, they've had tens of millions raised with crowdfunding. I saw an idea just a few weeks ago to have these little watches, just little cheap watches with with different faces. They wanted to raise a couple $100,000. They raised like $12 million and had to cut off the money coming into them. So I wouldn't sell yourself short going on this.
You're right, Alex.
Yeah, hopefully.
That would require a massive grassroots campaign similar to what Ron Paul has done.
Yeah.
We need to get out there, and we've had the campaign going for 30 days, and so far we've only gotten 13,000 out of 50,000. And that's
well, Ron Paul would have kept going if Jesse Benton hadn't started calling his main supporters extremist, as we've seen from Peter Schiff's email telling them not to, and I mean, now those of us that know what's going on, we're the bad guys. Ron Paul's still a great guy, but the Republican establishment is literally taking everything over. But I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off into that. Break down the plot of the film for people, or an overview, so they know what we're trying to get out to people.
Well, an important distinction to make is that the trailer is sort of a Hollywood-style trailer showing a lot of action and stuff, and that's not really what the film is about. The film takes place in the context of a future societal breakdown, which does parallel reality trends that we see every day. The story itself will, of course, follow a character who goes through a character arc, and it tells a very human story exploring human truths. That's an important distinction to make. This isn't a snuff film. It's not fear propaganda. It's not fear-mongering. It is a human film. So it follows a narrative.
It's really a love story.
It can be described. It's almost a monster movie. It's a love story. It's all of these things. It's very, very layered. It doesn't chronicle the collapse, but it follows characters and what the decisions they have to make in the event of a societal economic collapse, police state, martial law.
Yeah.
We got a couple tweets out at twitter.com/Real Alex Jones. Go retweet those folks. Systematic takeover of liberty, bringing the New World Order Gray State movie director and lead actor live now. So I guess that's the tweet. I was telling them to send out a tweet just pointing out, go check out the site and help get the film made. I think that's probably what we need to tweet. But and we've also got folks tuning in there at The Real Alex Jones on Twitter. But I mean, obviously it shows economic collapse, takeover, people being rounded up. All those real preparations are being made. So regardless, you know, I mean, just the trailer you've made helps give people kind of an image of where this is going to go. If we just decide that anything in a uniform's God, well, the corrupt system will take that as a signal to move forward.
Absolutely. And going into the trailer, we realized we had to be extremely visual stimulating on the images. So you see a lot of haunting images of soldiers on the streets, raids into the house, black bagging, haunting images. And that's only the best way we could do it for actually selling the product, for getting the film funded on it.
But we are trying to be true to reality itself. So it's not necessarily a polarized debate saying soldiers are bad or soldiers are good. We have characters embedded in the film that follow very real decision-making problems. I mean, the scenarios include just a National Guard soldier. Am I going to follow my orders? And this goes back on like what the conversations we've had with Stuart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers. Are you going to follow orders and round up people and put the gun to the back of the head of the American people? Or are you going to exercise your own moral capabilities and make the right choice? The soldiers and police in the film go through that realistically. It's not a polarized thing where we're going to say police and military are bad.
And also, too, we show a couple characters in that who are actually as civilians or regular people, and about their decisions if they're going to go along with the takeover or if they're going to go against it. And actually,
that's actually the scarier part is what the civilians are going to do.
Exactly. And by the way, the takeover is ongoing. If we resist too much politically, they'll stage terror attacks to launch the hot war against us. We'll be right back. We'll talk about the guillotines in the film. David Crowley, writer, producer, editor, VFX artist, composer, very talented folks, and Danny Mason, who is an actor and director, you name it, in theater and film, University of Kansas. Won't go over their whole bio, but GrayStateMovie.com. And I like to have people on like this sometime who have a passion and a dream, because in just the process of trying to make their film, they're putting out mini documentaries, they're putting out trailers, they're already reaching hundreds of thousands and then hopefully millions of people. And we need to help people who are trying to get the word out. We need to help folks that are trying to fight tyranny, because so many people, they either want some big, giant, elaborate master plan that it's going to perfectly, in a chain reaction, like one of those toys where you put the marble in one end and it goes through all the different ladders and loops and elevators and comes out perfectly, or they don't want to do it. And so much of it is just saying, I'm standing up for the truth. We know what classical tyranny and oppression is. It's happening here. And the people that have hijacked our country, they're admitting that. I mean, they're admitting that we're an occupied nation by foreign banks. They're admitting they're getting rid of the Bill of Rights and Constitution. They're putting RFID and satellite trackers on children nationwide. They know fluoride gives you brain cancer and bone cancer and dumbs you down. I mean, Harvard admits it. These are really evil people. And they don't move against us all because they don't really have the power. They have to convince us to go along with them. So GrayStateMovie.com, and we are going to tweet out right now. It's going up at Infowars.com, the trailer itself, and we will tweet that out to you if you're following us at Real Alex Jones. Aaron Dykes is coming in with some breaking news after our guests leave us, and I've got some other breaking news. We got about 6-7 minutes left with them, and I want to get them back on in the near future, maybe premiere some of their mini documentaries on the nightly news to break down what they're doing. But gentlemen, I mean, give us a sneak peek of kind of the script. You're asking for funding and support here. People are going to want to know. We get the general idea, but you say not a horror movie. Well, tyranny is horror. So I get it's a love story. You know, you love your wife, you love your family, so you better be ready to fight the evil. But, I mean, you got people in white hoods with guillotines as kind of Illuminati executioners and lining people up and shooting them. That's actually the plan in the re-education centers. The Army admits now they do have re-education camps, since we talked in at Bilderberg. That's now been confirmed that they have the re-education camps. So just chilling things happening here. Tell us a little bit about the plot and the man at the guillotine.
Well, that scene does not necessarily happen in the actual feature film. What will happen in the film is the reason we call it gray state, or one of the reasons, is that it's a division of reality. So we have people who are living in the Alex Jones world who know what's going on, and the people who simply don't. And the description being that it's requiring more and more work to support that illusion. And what will happen when it's finally contested? It's no longer just a luxury to believe in that false world where you just go to your job and everything.
So it's almost like the Matrix. People are so propagandized, they don't know that on the other side of town, they got guillotines chopping people's heads off.
And they won't believe it, Alex. The thing, we know that they will not believe it. And that's kind of the striated response we've gotten on the trailer. It's either A, this is awesome and it's almost true, or B, this is a bad... This is not real, and that's why I'm not going to watch the film. And what it does is it shows us how close to reality we're actually getting, because it's that emotional knee-jerk response.
Well, yeah, people think that if they deny it, it suddenly makes it not real.
Exactly.
Yeah, because their reality is a form of religion for them. And the more you encroach on that, it's more you question their morals and ethics and even spiritualism. And it becomes a very, sensitive ground. And the reason why we put the guillotine in it was more of the symbolism behind it, going back to a very dark medieval time, almost like cultish. So,
and we know that that's something that they would do because it's symbolic, it's brutal, and it's efficient. And actually, something that happens in the actual gray state thing is that they're going to start sending you something in the mail saying you have to go operate the guillotine. When they round up suspected dissenters and put them in line.
Well, I was about to stop you. You guys have done amazing research. Tell us briefly about your awakenings and what brought you to this point, because I sent out my reporters 2 days ago to do Man on the Street, and they were down at a Starbucks downtown, and they're dressed nice. Linda West and John Bound and others were out there, and all of a sudden they're out front of Starbucks, and a guy comes out in a three-piece suit. And they say, "Hi, sir, we'd like to interview you, get your take on just the state of things in America, your view on things." And that's all they said to him. And he goes, "Yeah, I got somebody for you." And he goes in, comes up with a camera, starts taking photos of him, and the police pull up and then just, checked him out. But, I mean, a woman in a business suit now with a Infowars.com microphone saying, "Hi, we're getting your take on the state of things, just the state of America." That guy guaranteed was InfraGard, and they've literally recruited almost everyone in an executive position, even what you'd say is low-level, dentists, doctors, or tried to recruit them. Almost every doctor my dad knows, medical or dental, has had a Homeland Security visit. I mean, in America. And they're like, "Well, what do you want me to watch for?" "We want you just to watch what people are saying about the government, what they're doing. We want you to spy on your patients." My dad's like, "No way." He thought it was just him. It was others. I mean, this is already there. And again, this is the government. It's like, well, we're doing it for your safety. They're the ones that got the underwear bomber on the plane. They're the ones that ran Amarillo-Lockheed. They're the ones putting the fluoride in their water. It's like, wow, they really are consciously engaged in a takeover. And they've got all these weird little minders that feel like secret agents. Because I've seen their training videos, their training manuals. I've sent by people on the inside. It's come out about InfraGard. And they even give the higher-level InfraGards firearms and tell them they're secretly deputized federally, that they'll be given, this even came out in mainstream news, several big articles a few years ago, I even had the writer on about it, where the headline, guys, if you look it up, was something like InfraGard, being given license to kill. And in the documents they got, it was in major news, like 5 years ago, they were being prepared that during an emergency, they would have to kill some of their employees. Like, the FBI may order you to start killing people. So, and like the average executive is like on a power trip with a pistol in their drawer and an FBI card, literally shaking with pleasure in this delusion of television that they're like a secret agent now and it's really cool. No, they're going to be throwing you against the public when the globalists are involved in a takeover. I don't think people understand what you just said is what they're already training them for. Go ahead. So, I mean, I want you to comment on that briefly, but then also tell me your view of that.
Well, I think the essence is pretty much what they're doing, not go too much on a soapbox, is prepping society to accept oppression as a form of security, and with that, and giving up your liberties and rights on it. And most importantly is giving up this idea of free will and choice and what you actually do with that choice.
And for whatever reason, if you're American, this simply does not apply to you.
Yeah.
As if we're somehow immune to the rhythms of history. And Alex, I want to thank you because we owe a lot of the this information coming out because of you and your organization.
Yes.
A lot of people like to say that, well, you guys are just Alex Jones acolytes, and that makes you bad, and that makes me not want to listen to you. Well, we have nothing to gain from you being right about this, Alex. If you're right, we're not going to make the film.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Yeah, but if you're wrong, I mean, why? If we're wrong, we can go on and make films and have a successful
Yeah, but listen,
career.
the cowards always attack those that are telling it like it is. I mean, it's official they're training the military for gun confiscation. It's official that they have the FEMA camps now. And you know, we get told, hey, great job, you were right. Here's the Army document, re-education camps. When good people in the Army leak it and the Army admits it's real. No, we're even more wrong when we're right. You understand that?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's been the response on YouTube. 97% positive, 3%. You guys are crazy. Get out the tinfoil hats. I'm not going to watch your film.
But you notice they'll still 3% dominate the comments because they're paid. And a lot of those are admitted sock puppets. Those aren't even people.
That could very well be true. But the scary thing about Gray State is that you're going to have those people who speak out, but they represent a silent majority. The 97% who don't win revolutions, those are the scary ones, because the second you challenge their entitlements, like in a scenario the Gray State suggests, they're going to revolt. So if revolutions are won by the 3%, they're going to be turned on by the 97%, and that is the real Gray State. There is the people who are so mind controlled, they don't listen to facts on a reasonable basis, and they deny whatever you say just because.
And it's crazy because I've been researching this material since even when I was really, really young. And I think just from that, always having the questions about situations with government and also with foreign affairs and foreign policies at the same time, to never accept the truth as it is, but always to go on your own terms of research, and whatever the truth is going to lie in the individual. And it's just our jobs as artists and our responsibility to present the truth. And whatever that truth is dependent on the interpretation of the individual.
And that's not something you've seen from art lately. Like in the 60s, what they did is art represented reality, and they represented the zeitgeist of that time. We haven't seen that.
It was a fantastic movement. It just got shunned, and that's what we're attempting to do. You haven't seen that
recently. At Gray State, I'm not saying it's unique. I'm not saying it's perfect, going back to what you said before, but it's one exercise in retaking our mainstream
resistance
media.
Is victory. I mean, if we just resist, it's like a muscle building. We're going to get stronger and better as we go. And so stop waiting. I mean, that's why I love what you're doing. You're just going at it, and you're also going at something big, but have already created amazing, thought-provoking information in the process. So it is, you know, the old saying of it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's the trip. And I hope people right now go to your website and donate to it, $5, $10, $20, because if you won't exercise your First Amendment today, you'll never exercise the second. And the first is more powerful if you use it up front than the second. It's a cop-out to just get a bunch of guns and sit around on them all day and say, I'm going to kill somebody if they come and try to put me in jail. Why don't you instead try to wake up the minions of the system before you have to think about the point of, oh, my God, they're going to take me to a FEMA camp. Okay, it's time to get the guns out, because you're not going to let them take you to a re-education camp. And we're getting to that point. And then
talks about, Alex, is the second the guns come out, 80% casualties, 80% fatalities. We do not want it to come to that point by any means. And
by the way, you talked about Iraq. Well, I mean, in a moment, just briefly talking about Iraq and Afghanistan, where you were. I mean, they admit all that's a laboratory for here. I've read MIT Magazine saying what we did in Fallujah with the cameras, the trackers, the face scanners, we're going to do that here. And now police are on the highway at checkpoints with face scanners. I mean, it's here. This is here. Go ahead.
Oh, also,
we know that's true.
Yeah, with drones and with everything.
I mean, they're trying to impose martial law, the same model that they do overseas. And we know that, Alex. We know that. What's next? What's next? That's why we're making a film, to show the people who otherwise would not be recipients of this message.
I mean, we were, just on a brief note, we were shooting this way before any Occupy Wall Street came out. Anything from like the NDAA ever came out. And when these events started taking place and people started looking at the images and finally saw the trailer, they just started looking at us like, what's next? We don't know. We were just thinking ahead of what would be the worst case scenario and like the scariest thing to come across visually. So
just because we have that luxury as filmmakers to show something, but also not have to prove it. We can explore these possible.
I mean, here's the deal: the system is openly preparing for war against us, and
the film is true. The film is essentially it could be described as a documentary.
Now I interrupted you a moment ago, so we're almost out of time. What was the point you were trying to make?
Oh, I was just going to say that going back to the nature of resistance, resistance is victory. That is a statement that the Gray State does a very good job of describing. Even though you may be killed resisting, the act of resistance on a metaphysical level has value. So we can reassign. I mean, it's not about Ron Paul. We know that now. Yeah. It's not about retaking the country and persisting in this paradigm. It's about finding out who you are as a person, as a human being, and resisting coercion.
In this realm and also in the other realms too. And I'll just only hint at that.
It's a very layered script. It is. It's metaphysical.
Well, no, the fight is at its core spiritual, and you'd have to be in deep denial and delusion spiritually now to not know that the shadows are getting long here. Gentlemen, amazing. Again, the website, both the websites for people to go find out what's going on. We're also just posted the full trailer at Infowars.com for people to pass around, but give people the websites one more time.
GrayStateMovie.com and Facebook.com/GrayStateMovie, Indiegogo.com/GrayStateMovie. This is a film you're going to want to see because it's everything that Alex says put on screen.
Yes.
It's going to be so brutal because we don't pull any punches. This is not our game to pander to the lowest common denominator. We're going to make it as brutal as we possibly can because that is the reality we're facing.
And it's up to the people to help us out.
Right, because no studio is going to touch this.
No, not at all.
So we need you guys' support.
And we want to keep it independent and grassroots.
Sure. So. David Crowley, Danny Mason, we'll talk to you both again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Very exciting. A lot of neat stuff over on their website as well. Aaron, we're going to go to break and come back.
We are working vigilantly on it at the same time, working on securing funding, finalizing the script for it. Also on top of that, a documentary. So that should be coming out first and be able to do the big push. So,
well, yeah, if you're not familiar with Gray State, it's basically a film about a future collapse of society under martial law, the loss of liberty and violation of the Constitution. So it's right there hand in glove with what's going on right now, real world, with the legislation being passed and not being passed. We had a recent victory, which is encouraging. But it's always an ongoing fight, and that's why we're teaming up with Stuart Rhodes. And there's too much compelling stuff right now to not make a documentary about it. So we're trying to use the current hype, and not just make a narrative feature film that's just, it's playtime, it's fake. It's a film is a lie that tells the truth, basically. So we're making a feature film that's not true. I mean, it's not based on current events, but you find its roots in current events. So we're trying to make it into sort of an engine of prosperity that will generate revenue with some documentaries. It'll consistently produce documentaries. There will be a web series, an entertainment-based web series, and then multiple feature films. So getting all this stuff off the ground is what is taking us so long to do it. But we're working very hard every day to do it. I mean, it's our full-time jobs, and we're not slacking here. But we got to do things the right way. I mean. We can't just poop out a script in a weekend. It's taken me 2 years so far to write this thing. Well, over a year of writing, of solid writing, just to get the script perfect. If it's not perfect, an investor will be like, I like your style, but the script is going to fall flat. So we have to avoid those pitfalls by making sure all the gates are met along the way. So that's
also, most importantly, we want to keep it independent. So we have control over the creative integrity of it, and not some Hollywood production company that tells us what they do.
Red Dawn. They can't piss off the Chinese anymore, so they got to make them North Korean. And then everyone's just rolling their eyes, but they'll still go see the movie. Hopefully we will surpass those kind of limitations and be as true to form as possible while remaining entertaining.
So tell us, may go each one by one, is what really got you involved in starting the film? How'd you guys get started? What was your turning point for making this, or start making this film to spread the message of to everybody out there?
Oh man, that's a long story.
How did you wake up?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. It's been a long time for me. I've been researching information, just dealing from a lot of conspiracy, what they call conspiracies. I call them not theories, facts. Personally, probably almost about 10 years now. I met with David probably about 4 years.
2010.
Yeah, 2010. So about 3 years ago. We were very much on the similar page, coming from different backgrounds. Him being military, me just being book nerd on it. Similar ideas, morals, ethics towards it. Presented some information on it. Told him not to believe me, research himself. He came back, not just coming back with incredible ideas for this idea that kind of merged into Gray State, how it is now. So
it's been a perpetual waking up. I mean, everyone's got that moment where like they get dizzy and it's like, oh shit, my world's coming to an end tomorrow. But then you overcome that, and everyone has to act within their own capacity to kind of spread the message, to be the Sermon on the Mount or whatever, be a disciple for what you now know, because you're now in a sea of zombies. You start to see it, and we're filmmakers, so we're going to make a film about it. We're going to tell a story, because that's where my brain goes. I see this stuff going down. I'm like, this place will become a third world country, a battleground, and I want to do what I can to avoid that. So maybe I can show what that might look like through a film to kind of wake people up, like, this is something worth protecting. So,
and also at the same time, and we were just in Boston just for a day, and just seeing how that was going down within literally a military state, which is very inspiring because of what we do and inside our head. Actually seeing progress in real life, not only is it scary, but also at the same time, also in a weird, more of a way, inspirational for us, because we know what we're doing is going to be shaking, but also entertaining to the fact that we can also reach millions of people, not just a limited amount of people at the same time.
If we play our cards just right, it'll pass as science fiction just enough. I mean, you see like Mad Max, okay, or something like that. That's off in the future. That's some desert, weird, strange world that I can disassociate from my current reality enough to be comfortable with the film. Hopefully it'll be just enough over that border so people can comfortably watch it and absorb its message without being turned off by it trying to tout itself as truth. So we're going to play it a little bit safe, but although the film is fake, nothing in it is fake. Nothing in it is not real. So, I mean, that's where it's pretty unique as a film.
So going to different events and talking to people about it, what's the response been so far from many people you've talked to, different locations? Anything stand out to you guys?
It's striation.
I mean, it totally is.
It's the divide that we expected. It's, either they love it or they hate it. But it's about a 90-10 split where people are like, you're onto something there. That's pretty important. And then other people are just violently opposed.
And just from an entertainment standpoint, people are on that page. We're like, we could see it from what you guys are trying to do. For the time when we actually shot the trailer, our tools were limited to what we were able to actually envision it. But other people were just completely disgusted and call us just basically psychos about it. Like, we're crazy. But they cannot deny the fact that there is beginning a movement behind the Gray State, because this is what people want to see on the same time. And they can't deny that because of the truth.
So most importantly, to wrap it up here quick, tell us, anybody, viewers out there, where they could find the work, to keep updated on it, what's going on now, any updates where people could find that, to donate, anything else like that.
You can find us on YouTube at the Gray State channel, graystatemovie.com. You're going to find us on Facebook, which is Facebook.
Google Gray State Movie. You're going to get 60 pages of hits. It's awesome, like seeing how many people find the trailer and push it. So Google it, you'll find it. But something that we just started is the documentary we're calling Gray State: The Rise. So if you're interested in finding out like real world updates, sharing news, the current stuff that the film can't touch, but it's still real world, that's where the documentary is going to come through and actually post current events. So Gray State: The Rise will be our documentary, but Gray State Movie will cover everything else.
I've just been interested in liberty and economics for a long, long time, and and basically when the 2008 crash happened, we said, let's make this into a real interesting story, and turn this into something that nobody's ever seen before, and very quickly. The roots of all this goes down to the Federal Reserve, goes down to the nature of money itself.
Yeah, I just came out to support the movie. I really appreciate what the producers are trying to do, the message that they're sending. They're trying to entertain as well as educate. And so I think it's an important film in that respect. I wish we'd get more films like this, maybe even some major Hollywood studios doing some bigger films.
Here with David Crowley of the Gray State. It's a great movie coming out, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that, what you're doing, what Gray State is, and why people should look out for it.
All right, well, when you look outside your window and it's suddenly not the same world you remember, it's called waking up, and then everyone in their own capacity has to act. And so just like everyone here is protesting, trying to get the word out, to raise awareness for things, I'm a filmmaker. I have to act in my own capacity as well. So I'm exercising my creative liberties while I still have them to create a film that is essentially based in this reality. So Gray State, while it is a narrative, fake feature film, it's based in reality, just like a monster movie might be about a shark. Our shark is what the Bilderbergs want to accomplish with our world. So Gray State is martial law, civil war, economic collapse, calamity in the streets, death by starvation. I mean, who knows what the options are? I mean, we know what the possibilities could be. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's our best interpretation. So the Gray State is a film about what we can expect. It's a consequence of what could happen if we collectively fail to embrace liberty, essentially.
Nice. And when can people expect to see this released?
No one knows. This is comprehensive, but no one knows exactly what to expect from the reality these guys in the Bilderberg meeting are trying to accomplish for the world they want. No one can really expect what's going to happen. Is it going to be a false flag attack? Is it going to be a mega virus or an EMP from Russian? No one really knows what's going to happen. It's our best interpretation. So in absorbing all this information, we have to craft our own story, and that has been a process. So it's been about 2 years that we've been developing the concept and creating a marketing package. Basically, we shot a concept trailer last year, and we've been working on it this entire time. So it's been ongoing, and we're trying to do it right, because if we're going to do it right, we're going to do it the way we want to do it and not sell it to a corporate studio who's going to mess it up and try to put in their own messages. So in doing it right, yes, we are taking a while, and it's just me and my partner doing all the work, but hopefully that will explode, and it will be taken out of our hands and more professional, so we can then just direct creatively and accomplish the task for us in accordance with the project, the entire project's directive. But the trailer should be done in August, and so we'll be making our public debut at that time, and really going public with our concept videos we've been creating by people like gathering material at events like this, talking to the real guys, because this film is about real issues. So we've got concept material, we've got behind the scenes material, graphic art, and of course the trailer. There might be 2 trailers, there might be 3 trailers, but it's going to be an ongoing effort while we acquire the funding that we need.
Nice, and it looks really great. I saw the trailer, and so
you did?
Yeah, there's a video on Sean Wright's video. There's a trailer.
Oh, clip.
I saw something.
What did you post?
I didn't post that.
Well, not the trailer. Okay, I saw the footage from your interview.
Everyone tells us that they've seen the trailer. The trailer is not out yet.
Okay.
It's got visual effects incorporating 3D stuff.
That's
so
the,
we're trying to
what is
achieve
that?
a Hollywood standard, so it does take a long time. So the trailer is not done yet. I do have a rough draft, but no one has seen it.
I've seen it. No, I'm just kidding. Not me.
You're telling a combat veteran that I shared something I'm not supposed to. No.
You seriously.
Operational security, Sean. Come on.
Wait, well, we're looking forward to seeing the Gray State, and where can people find that on the internet?
GrayStateMovie.com. We're on Facebook. It's at facebook.com/GrayStateMovie. We also are on YouTube, and YouTube is the place to go if you want to see the videos that we've been releasing. We just released a Ron Paul promotional video to support our crowdfunding campaign, because we're trying to get some money to go to the RNC, because we're trying to get to these real events where the real stuff is going down, so we can continue to document reality, and then of course that's going to filter right back into the narrative feature film.
Nice.
So GrayStateMovie.com though, check it out.
Cool. Well, good speaking with you, brother.
Hey, thanks.
Is David Crowley. This guy is working on an amazing project. I got to spend some time with him at some of the events recently. This is a great team working on Gray State, the movie about the encroaching police state. So I want him to come up and tell you about it. David Crowley, everyone.
It's always refreshing to encounter people who are alert thinking. Most places you go, it seems like the people you encounter are the glassy-eyed acolytes of Facebook, TV, or pop culture. The ones who, when you look at them, you're not even sure if they can see you. Or there's the ones who, when you look at them, there's a light, intelligence, and an alertness behind the eyes that's almost, human. And more often than not, that intelligence will be linked to a person who is familiar with freedom. To me, the light of humanity is not in its technical capability to enslave each other and itself, but in the calm understanding that if I am to be truly free, then I must observe your right to be free as well. And here at Fall Fest, I see that familiar recognition of a fellow freedom lover in everyone I meet. And in the words of Dr. Paul, that idea of liberty is becoming more and more popular. So, let me introduce myself. My name is David Crowley. I'm a husband and a father, and I'm a combat infantry veteran with over 5 years of service and 2 deployments. But I'm here speaking today as a filmmaker. I'm the writer and director of the film Gray State. Now, has anyone heard of Gray State? That doesn't surprise me, because the trailer racked up nearly 150,000 views in its first week on YouTube. The overwhelmingly positive response to the trailer tells me that for whatever reason, it's something people want to see.
Since we began developing the concept 2 years ago, people have been asking me, what is the gray state? This is a question whose answer needs no further clarification than for you to look outside your window and observe what your world has become. You may recognize it as the world financial prison that has been created by bankers. You may recognize it as a visualization of the uneasy fear you may now have as a police car pulls up behind you. You may recognize it as one quick step away from the pervasive surveillance state in which we now live. In any one of these estimations, you would be correct. In short, the gray state is the culminating manifestation of the darkest trends our negligence and malignancy have to offer. As you watch the trailer, you see that every scene exemplifies something sick about the way our culture has devolved. Every scene is a revealing stab at the innocuous beginnings of a totalitarian police state, suggesting just how our silence and inaction might be rewarded. It is a preview of what happens should the Ron Paul revolution, that fire of free thought, roll over and die, and let them have their way with our country. Gray State may be just a movie, but if that's all it really is, then Ron Paul is just another congressman. If you've already seen the Gray State trailer, you'll recognize this tagline. The Second American Revolution may not be remembered. It surprised me how little people question that statement, and not in the way that they usually don't question what they see and hear. It seems like they really get it. They understand that if the frontal attacks on liberty we endure on a day-by-day basis ever culminate into a shooting war, then it will result in either a total teardown of our current system of government or a complete eradication of the fundamental idea of freedom. And looking around, you know that such a possibility is not far off. The film explores trends like RFID, bio, and nanotechnology. These represent the fusion of authoritarian control and human flesh. And these trends are no longer science fiction. Trends like the slow, systematic takeover of the free exchange of information as foretold by Orwell, also, unfortunately, no longer science fiction. Trends like the slow yielding of our quiet American towns and streets to a choking array of federal surveillance grids, illegal police checkpoints, and literal foreign occupation. Trends like the acceptance of torture as a sanctioned practice, the acceptance that a portion of our children will be siphoned off to be sacrificed in foreign wars, and that the acceptance that this is simply the way things are. The acceptance that some people may be arrested, black-bagged, and imprisoned without charges or trial, and that as long as we submit to state authority, continue to yield our liberties, and modify our behavior to fit the mold of federal approval, this unlucky person being dragged away will not be us. And as long as at least we believe our freedoms are not at stake, we will be allowed to return to the comfortable complacency of our padded, regimented lives. We live in strange times. We share this nation with people who think drinking raw milk is radical behavior. People who think organizing a military stand-down is radical behavior. People who think committing our troops and our resources to more and more undeclared foreign wars with increasingly thin veneers of moral justification is actually patriotism. People who are unfamiliar with interpersonal communication, completely without trust, sense of community, or allegiances beyond corporate brand loyalty. We live in a society that is fractured, marginalized, and distracted. The film will explore the consequences of this complacency, but also the film will explore the rise of those who did not live their lives asleep. The rise of patriots, those who know that liberty is not given but purchased, and at some point collectively decide that enough is enough. Patriots loyal to the founding principles of this country by which the most successful experiment of liberty in human history has drawn its voice. Backed by the awesome heritage of armed resistance to tyranny, each American can proudly claim, throw off their shackles, and retake their birthright. We are not a nation of sheep who should look at our history with shame and submit to authoritarian rule. The Gray State will tell this story as well. There are many people in this country, and in this room perhaps, who anxiously await an armed revolution. They imagine that if only we could return to constitutional republic and embrace free markets and individual liberties again, that the American dream will return to us. But will the Second American Revolution be remembered? Because now we begin to appreciate the magnitude of our opposition. This is not an obsolete single tyrant thousands of miles away who threatens everyone's freedom publicly, but a convoluted mess of legislation and social evolution that slowly and gradually usurps our liberties one at a time, whose enforcers believe that they are working in the best interest of all, and whose ranks are filled by our own friends and neighbors. They say revolutions are won by the 3%, and that may be true. Many potential 3%ers are here in this room today. But the gray state, the real gray state, is the 97% who will not have their entitlements threatened by a minority. And it's the first sign that these government subsidies will end, will finally act to betray us. And with the array of technological and logistical weapons arrayed against us, should that armed revolution begin, should that shot heard around the world be fired in our time, we are locked into a conflict that will end with either our total, complete throwdown of the system, after perhaps 50 years of guerrilla warfare and uncounted casualties, or our utter annihilation. Since we can no longer tolerate an uneasy coexistence or truce with tyranny, neither are good options. And friends, in the event that the revolution should fail, history will not remember us. Because the gray state will have won, and the masses will go back to the comfortable ignorance the state so loves in its own citizens, and no record will be left to inspire future dissent. Do not let it get to that point. Before we go so far as to commit our families to alienation, persecution, and guerrilla warfare, we must exhaust every possible avenue of peaceful reclamation of our country. Having been to Iraq and Afghanistan, I've seen our military's capacity for so-called peacekeeping, and this is not something we want here at home. This means that regardless of who is elected this November, our values must persist and the fight must go on without violence. Ladies and gentlemen, you know all this already. You have envisioned the look of our homes and our streets in a post-revolution world. That is why you're here, putting your own liberty at stake to take a stand for your rights while you still can. And we all know that we have one foot in the gray state already, since to say that your liberties are at stake is no longer hyperbole. But while you have envisioned this consequence, perhaps, where has been the artistic response to the social attitudes and fears of today? Why has there been no artistic revolt to the atrocities of our times? The artist's responsibility is to best exemplify the zeitgeist, to be the barometer of our social experience, and provide insight and expression to the world climate in which we live, far removed from the censorship and control of government regulation. We need these outlets to show us our values in new light, and if necessary, show us possible consequences of the loss of those values. But I think we can agree that on the national level, the artistic response has been silence, or worse, compliance. And so it's little wonder that while our liberties count down their final hours, all that most Americans are concerned about is who is winning on Dancing with the Stars. There has been very little voice for the cause of liberty, which traditionally has been given volume by the arts. My friends, in this regard, the Gray State Project will not betray you. This is not a documentary that speaks only to the few, but a narrative story that speaks about the universal truths of humanity's better natures and through trial by fire puts it to the test. It is as exciting as anything you'd go to see in the theaters, and as compelling and disturbing as the latest executive order. And while I make no claim that my efforts as an artist best exemplify the thoughts and feelings of every person in this room, I do assert that as far as expressions of freedom go, this is one we can all get behind. And while many are probably wondering what a film pitch has to do with the Ron Paul movement, the realists in the audience here today understand the need to explore a post-Ron Paul America. Because even if our greatest hopes are realized and Dr. Paul becomes President Paul, under the current paradigm, the complacency of future generations will allow the cyclical return of tyranny as we have done. That is why we must embrace the enduring expressions of liberty that the artistic community can provide. As a libertarian filmmaker speaking to my audience, I can pretty well guarantee you that if you support us and help get our films into mainstream theaters, we can together divert the social and political conscience away from the destructive, apathetic sleep state we are in. The Gray State can be our Trojan horse into mainstream media, injecting real issues in the same way Dr. Paul has done. But it's an uphill battle. Just as Ron Paul requires grassroots support outside of the establishment, no Hollywood studio will touch the Gray State Project due to its contentious nature. That is why we need your help to get this film financed and seen in theaters, so it can make the impact it is capable of as a legitimate message of liberty. If Gray State resonates with you as truth, as a vision of a future scenario we must avoid at all costs, I hope you'll consider supporting the project through financial contribution, or at least spreading the message and getting the trailer seen by as many people as possible. So please visit our website at graystatemovie.com to find out how you can help us in our efforts. As you very well know, the fight for liberty is no longer a spectator sport. So it is paramount that we engage all of our resources for every frontline cause. If we don't, our children, for whom we hope to leave a better world, will find themselves fighting our battles in a scenario not too far off from what the gray state shows. As an artist and storyteller who is awake to the world, I will do everything in my capacity to meet my responsibility. The question is, will you? So again, I know that I'm speaking to people who are awake, and I know that I can count on your support. Gray State has already been described as a prophetic look into a terrifying future, but I appeal to you here today to help us prove them wrong. And through our united effort, we keep this film in the fiction section. Thank you.
If you haven't already seen the trailers for this film, check it out on YouTube. Really amazing. The production quality is really high. It's unlike anything you've ever seen coming out of the Liberty Movement thus far.
My name is David Crowley. I'm a filmmaker from Minnesota, and I've been working on the project Gray State. And so far, it's just a concept trailer, meaning that it's not an actual feature film yet. It's an idea that we show, to help a possible investor or a studio or whomever visualize what our idea is all about. So basically, it's been an exercise in developing the themes and really getting the visuals across and showing A, that we can, that it's a good idea and that's something that people want to see, and B, that we can actually pull it off. So it's both a resume and sort of a pitch to anyone who's looking. And this is now a marketing tool that we can take to a studio or a possible investor or just put online so people can see it. And that's been one of our main goals, is to get 1 million views. That's investor bait, and so far so good. It's up to like 170,000 right now, and it's been a little over 2 weeks since it's gone up. We've just released our press kit, so we're about to start emailing and actually actively pushing the trailer instead of just letting it go viral. So far it's just been Facebook shares. So what you're telling me by sharing it on Facebook is that it's something you want to see, and that's telling me that, yeah, this could be a good movie, and it's commercially viable, and with the right financial backing, we can actually make it happen. How people wake up to liberty, and that is the term we all use, right? Wake up, because these things go on all around us all the time, and most people know about everything. Any one of these issues, you ask anyone, they've heard about it to some degree, but it requires sort of an awakening context by which they can establish the difference between that reality and the one that they live in. So for me, I was in the military from 2004 to 2009. I was stop-lost for 15 months. I was deployed illegally as a civilian for a while. So I know what it's like to be a number on a page, and I've seen what our military is capable of when it thinks it's peacekeeping. I've seen the division between the military being used as a blunt instrument of foreign policy, as it should, and being a domestic police force, which it shouldn't. And so I have seen the context, I've seen the contrasts between one reality and the other, and basically it was my military experience that helped me to decide and value liberty. I mean, liberty is a real thing, and it's being threatened, and it's not defined by our creature comforts. There's some other thing that goes on, and it's about freedom, really. And are we free? And once you have that context by which to describe what I call the gray state, that's what the gray state is, then you can begin to wake up to your reality and say, hey, this stuff isn't right.
Yeah, gotcha. Was there just something, you said a little bit before that you've been writing this for kind of 2 years or whatnot. What triggered just the gray state? I mean, I know liberty and all that, but just the whole martial law, gray state, was there something that just...
It's all research based. Once you start to open your eyes, read a couple books, Google something, Google any one of these terms that you see in gray state, FEMA, martial law, RFID chip, the future rise of the Patriots. This stuff is all in there, and it's all widely available. And once you start to decide that this is not just conspiracy and that I should probably pay attention, bam, you're in the world, and there's no end to it. And it's that research that said, someone needs to tell this story, So there has to be a narrative in this, and I'm sure people have tried. And that's why it's taken me 2 years to sort of condense everything into one storyline, because there's 100 different ways by which the federal government will end this country. And I had to pick like what I thought was the most realistic scenario, and that's kind of what the Gray State is.
Whenever you were writing it, was there anything that you thought maybe I should go back on? Or?
That's a very good question. Well, anyone who opens their eyes to this material has that month or so when they're just afraid, and they go outside and they're like, it's going to happen tomorrow. Look at all these fools. They don't know what's coming, and it's like you're just afraid of everything. I got over that like everyone else does, and I realized, well, there's some time at least. And so I was able to, bury myself in the film effort and really try to craft that narrative out of the mess that I was researching. Now, do things really scare me about the Gray State? Well, hell yes, they do. Now, the follow-on question to that typically is, well, why are you making a movie? That's your response to knowing the truth about this awful, dark, crazy world we live in? Well, I think that everyone needs to act within their own capacity. I'm an artist, I'm a storyteller, I'm a filmmaker, so I have to do something, and if telling this story helps people to wake up, and that's what people have largely told me, then that's what I'm going to do. Now, as far as what scares me about it, well, with what is coming, you and I are aware of this, with what is coming down the pipe, yeah, we are all going to face some very terrifying shit in the next maybe even couple months. Who knows? I'm not a fortune teller, I can't tell you that, but something is coming. And at the very least, we all have to meet our own demise someday anyway. That's something to be scared of, or maybe not. Maybe we can just achieve a sort of spiritual maturity in which we can face our own deaths, because in the end, that's the worst they can do to us. The thing that scares me about Gray State is that may not be the worst thing they can do to you, is kill you. So that's where Gray State has taken me down that dark road. Death is not the worst thing. The end of the revolution, it's not the worst thing. I mean, there are deeper things to you than your body. The Gray State is not by any means like a Christian film, but it is spiritual. Yeah. So defining the resistance and defining conflicts and defining how you will defend your liberty and your freedom and what that means. What am I as an intelligent, sentient being in the world? That's what kind of scares me, because they can take more than your life. I think everyone's got a vision about how they can best tell their own stories. And I think with today's technology, that's utterly possible. I mean, that's entirely possible. Anyone can basically pick up a camera and make their first film, get noticed for the quality of the storytelling, and move on from there, getting funding and getting attention from here and there. It's a ladder for sure, because you're not starting out in Hollywood with $1 million. It doesn't work that way. So libertarian filmmakers, you'll find yourself at odds with society. My trailer has done awesome on the national scale. Locally, everyone is used to it. Everyone's used to me. They're tired of my politics. I don't know what it is, but it's been largely ignored. That's because, to the large extent, we know that the mainstream media has a liberal bias. They're not willing to even acknowledge these ideas. So it will be a challenge for young libertarian filmmakers trying to make their mark in film. But it's not like a dead end by any means. There's always hope, because, as Dr. Ron Paul says, freedom is popular. And so there's a large audience of untapped resources, of an untapped audience who are willing to watch your projects. If this film can actually get made, yeah, that's a strike. I mean, that's a victory for the liberty movement, because you know that I'm going to put in some liberty-minded ideals into the film. Now, it's a concept trailer, so we need money. Basically, it comes down to begging for pennies, but that's the way it's got to be, because no Hollywood studio is going to back this film. So it's got to come from grassroots, spreading the word. Hey, check out this trailer. Share it on Facebook. Have them share it on Facebook. Share it in public forums. Talk about it. Check out our website, because we're running a crowdfunding campaign. If 100 people see the trailer, one of those people might donate $5. So it's Indiegogo.com/Gray State Movie. That's where we're running the campaign. We're offering some T-shirts. We're offering posters, signed 8x10, signed posters, a lot of stuff from the film itself. A lot of really cool things that we're offering in exchange for some of your contributions. And that's how we're going to start funding this film. And then eventually it will go off and we'll get some major investing, maybe get backed by a studio or two, I don't know. That might happen. We might get the couple $1 million that we need to actually produce the film, and it might actually happen within the next 2 years. So definitely support the project any way you can, either through financial contributions or just sharing the trailer. That's really all we need right now, is just share that trailer, get it seen.
Cut crew.
cut crew from the budget.
You had a budget?
See, now you're hitting on my main point.
The really cool thing about Gray State is that what we're doing from the standpoint of the marketing and taking our time and gathering our resources and getting ready to push it at the right moment is something that most films around the Twin Cities aren't doing.
Out in Hollywood or out in New York or Chicago, whatever. They do these things. Around here, nobody does that.
I'm really impressed with the marketing aspect of Gray State. The photos look amazingly professional. The website looks incredible. All of these things lend a professionalism and a high production value to something that isn't even made yet, that attracts attention. It demands attention. The more that Dave and Mitch apply their knowledge to the marketing aspects, it makes it comparable to huge budget features, and it draws the eye.
The trailer is almost secondary to the concept push itself. We are generating something like 25 behind-the-scenes videos. They're pushing this concept, showing that, yeah, we planned for this, and we did this, and this is what we get. And this is with no budget. And we've already passed a lot of local films on Facebook in popularity, and we're in hibernation. If we approach an investor with a completed trailer and we have 10,000 Facebook fans, a movement behind it, that's already a sale.
Filmmakers have not been able to utilize the resources that they can through Facebook and the marketing aspect on it and figuring out, first off, who's your demographic? Who's your niche? How are you going to contact the people who actually have deep pockets? What's your plan of taking the film to the next level? How are you going to be able to distribute it? How are you going to get in contact with those people?
It's a big marketing package, and we hand these, like, go to a potential investor or something like that. We give them these things like, this is what we have done, this is what we are prepared to do, how dedicated we are to this project, and with your help we can make this project.
Conversations I've had with other actors and other directors, we've talked about the detail and how much time and effort is going into just a trailer.
Most concept trailers never see the light of day or never really get off the ground, let alone you're putting a lot of funding and money into a product that you're hoping to lead to the actual production of the film itself.
A lot of work has gone into the concept trailer because they're looking to sort of show this as a very wide concept, a very big, broad-based concept that envelops an entire country. So it's going to take a lot of work. These things definitely take time.
It's all about the quality. It's not about the quantity. And this is where people get really confused because a lot of filmmakers are like, well, I'm going to pump out films like this, shorts, boom, boom. And when they do that, it's like this.
I think so much work has gone into a concept trailer because they believe in what they're writing about.
I know with David and Mitch as filmmakers, they wanted to do a lot of things and they wanted to push the barrier and the envelope as much as possible.
There's a ton of detail, a lot of footage, a lot of options to do a lot of different things. And in addition to just one standard trailer, there's huge opportunity to do ongoing promotion.
If you guys put this much effort into it, then you care about what the story's going to be, and to me that's the most important thing.
The mistake I think a lot of film producers and directors make is that they send it out and it's kind of send it out and they will watch it, and maybe they will, but the way Facebook and the internet works, things are there and gone in a millisecond. So you really have to put together a campaign to get that information out there.
All this buzz that people have for Gray State, we didn't start it. We just started shooting. We started doing a scene here, a scene there, involving people that we wanted, and it just generated from there.
It was crazy. We didn't do anything to hype the film at all. All the hype has come from people being on set.
The people who have worked on Gray State already are like evangelists. I kid you not.
The more people that were brought on to Gray State, the more they started talking about it and publicizing it, and it just became this huge buzz. Like, tell me more about Gray State. Hey, how can I get on that set?
People working on feature films being shot during the same time. The cast and crew on that feature film was talking about Gray State.
I think everybody's in anticipation.
But we knew we had to use that hype for our own good and push that because we knew it being successful was going to be built on word of mouth and grassroots.
The things that we're showing, the things that we're saying are appealing to people, and it's making it a very popular idea.
I think people are finally seeing a film that It's a direct reflection of what reality is actually becoming. And I think people are, at this point, are extremely happy and excited for a project like this to show that.
I think there's a huge amount of potential for the Gray State idea. The incredible professionalism of the shoot, the really awesome look of the trailer. I think it's going to get some attention, and I think it's going to get some budgetary attention, some financial attention, which it really deserves.
I think Gray State would definitely run into some problems because they're pushing the envelope. With anything that's pushing the envelope or trying to get a message out there that maybe not everybody agrees with, you're going to have some things you're running with.
I think it's going to go over well with whomever you show it to.
I think it'll go over well with them. Whether they want to actually give us money to do it, who knows?
The way that it's being done, I mean, the interviews, doing a trailer and not just shooting the feature, we can get investors interested in the project so that we can get funding, so that we can actually make something that's great.
We're saying, well, anyone can make a movie these days because for $3,000 you get pro quality gear. Well, yeah, it's all what you do with it. A tube of paint is cheap, but not everyone's Picasso. So.
Because in this day and age, not only are we talking about creating an effective story, but this story can only be produced if it's got the financial backing to create it.
I'd like to see him get it made and have it actually go somewhere and be noticed as being something that got made in Minnesota. And wow, they pulled something off with nothing.
Is immensely ambitious and requires a great deal of financial backing, let's be honest. So they understand that a good concept marketing piece like a trailer with posters and websites, distribution ideas, really the effectiveness of how they can create the story, knowing all that ahead of time so that they can offer this to investors so that they know that what they're investing in knows what they're doing and will immediately not have any question about any aspect of the production. David and Mitch and Danny have already answered those questions for any investor that has them.
Hopefully we get some fantastic funding so we can make a bomb movie.
And we can. There's no doubt in my mind. There's enough resources here and talent to actually do it.
My idea on doing films in the Twin Cities is pretty much this is our home and we can do everything that they can do on the West Coast. And now all we have to do is show them that we can do it. We obviously have the talent, we have the people in Minnesota, we have the military group, Bullet Exchange, we have open air action design, we have great camera people, great directors, great production companies. All we have to do is come together and show that we can do exactly what they do out there. And to have all those pieces kind of come together for a local film and to work that great really surprised me and made me happy too, because that's obviously our ultimate goal.
It'd be fun to see the finished product.
Oh, it's going to be great. People are going to love it, they're going to get some funding, and then we're all going to get a job. Woohoo!
It's a professional, intelligent film. It's groundbreaking on what it's trying to do, from the visual aspect to the storytelling to the production.
I'd like the feature to be so good that people outside of Minneapolis are like, wow, again, because I don't think that anybody ever says wow when they think of Minneapolis.
Gray State is making waves. This is just within the regional aspect. This is before we start doing our national.
We have generated this concept that has resonated with people. With just the promise of a concept trailer, we're competing with other local feature films that have already got their budget, already shot, and they're on the downslope already. We're looking at the upslope.
I can't see Gray State not being a success. It's definitely gonna knock it out of the park.
It will get funded, it will be shot, and it will be made.
This is the rise. We're just starting out. That is my favorite part about Gray State, is that I hardly need to sell the concept.
Oh, working on Gray State was such a positive experience, and I was so glad to be a part of it. And I hope, sincerely, that we can move on to a feature film where I can work with these guys day in and day out and be a part of a really exciting process.